The moment that changed my life was shedding my shit on the radio, like twice, huge moments. And so I want other people to have those moments. Because for me, there was so much power in it. And like, what was the lesson that I got from opening up on the airwaves that day about my anxieties, that I wasn't alone.
Welcome to the Sevo Show. We have Heidi Anderson here.
Hey, Sevo. Sevo?
Sev.
Yeah.
Sev's fine.
What were you, Mr. at school? Mr.
Moz.
Mr. Moz.
I love that.
I love that. Okay.
Everything about that. I love it.
Mozzie?
Yeah. So Heidi.
Yes.
Are you living your best life?
Yes, I am, and it's taken a lot to get here. I still think there's more. So does that mean I'm living my best life?
There's always more.
Yeah, there's more. There's still way more to fucking come. However, I've got
it's explicit now. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No,
yeah. Do we need to do one of those warnings?
No.
Because you'll probably get a lot of fuck bombs out of me.
Love a good
I worked on breakfast radio.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to swear. So I kept it in for nearly 12 years. And then now, and I'm a Bathurst bogan. I grew up in Bathurst. So I have, the C-bomb was like a second word for me.
Straight into growing up in Bathurst. Love it.
Yeah, Bathurst bogan.
And we've already identified what you've done so far, and we'll unpack what you're doing next.
Yes.
But living your best life at the moment, great stuff.
Yes.
Great start. So Bathurst, tell me about your upbringing, and keep it short. This isn't a "this is your life," Heidi.
Yeah. Damn, I thought that was my moment. I thought this was my moment.
Give the audience context from where you grew up and how you got to your first gig as a radio host.
Okay, so to keep it really quick,
Please.
read my book, Drunk on Confidence. There's like a tiny little chapter in there about it.
Love a plug.
So my mum and dad, we lived in Bathurst. I've got a brother, Nick. Both of them really hard workers.
Yep.
They had their own businesses. Both of them entrepreneurs, went on to do, amazing things. I went to an all-girls school, fucking hated it, but it's probably why I've been able to be successful with like parents, the schooling that I had. I grew up like everyone else, faced all the fear, faced all the shitty voices that we had in our head.
Yep.
I was the fat, funny friend. That's how I would describe myself. The guys always wanted to fuck my friends, never wanted to have sex with me. So I had a lot of, you wouldn't believe it, but confidence issues.
Yeah.
And so I had my years as a teenager where, always worried what people thought, searching for validation, looking for love. And then that kind of went through into my 20s, which is kind of what's brought me to now who I am today, which is what my whole book is about, and understanding myself. However, what got me into radio was I was that kid who was like making cassettes, as a teenager, listening to the radio, calling in every night.
I was that kid too.
Yeah, thinking that's what I'm going to be one day. Yeah. And then I only wrote this as a story on my Instagram the other day because someone at the dinner where we recently connected, they said to me, how did you get into radio? And I said, really crazy story. I was working at Bathurst. I was going to uni doing public relations, and one of the breakfast radio hosts came in from the local radio station in Bathurst, and he was standing there and he was looking at me, and I was serving chicken schnitzel and chips, and he said, have you ever thought about getting into radio? And it wasn't about my looks. He was like, your voice, and I was 20 starts a day back then, like I was bubbly, like exactly how I am now, but I had a really husky voice. And he was like, damn, you would be great on air. You should come in and see me next week. I'm like, whatever. Went back to uni. Like, I guess I didn't really think like this could be a moment. 6 months later, he called the pub again, the Knickerbocker, and he said, mate, you ever going to come down and see me? From that day, I used to go down at 5 a.m. every single morning. Before uni, I was working 3 jobs at the bar, at my mum's cafe, and packing dog smackos at the factory there. And he said, come in, and I went in, and from there, I went in there for 2 years, every single morning for free. And I sat with him when he was on air. Eventually, I started talking to him on air. My first interview was Will Anderson. I was 20 years old, and I was sitting there and I got to ask Will Anderson a question. I used to write his gossip. However, when I finished uni, they hired another girl to be his co-host.
What? And how did you feel about that?
I was devastated. Now, understanding radio, I get it. I didn't have a fucking story. I didn't have life experience to share as a breakfast radio host. And so I threw all of my toys out of the pram. I pretty much told them all to go fuck themselves. Hated them all.
Of course.
And then I went overseas and I lived 4 years overseas.
Where did you live?
I lived in London. I lived in Scotland for 2 years. And then we travelled. We had a van. We travelled all around. And I broke up with my long-term boyfriend and just went.
Yeah, you got a route.
I got plenty of routes. Don't you worry about that. If you've read my book, you know that I wasn't shy.
Was it like a great 50 Shades of Grey sort of book and mixed with business?
Maybe that's the next book. No, I'm not kinky, but because I talk about sex, people think I'm kinky.
Yeah.
Because I can openly speak about it. They think, oh, she must be crazy. And I'm like, no.
Mate, the two most important subjects people have to actually talk about is sex and money.
Yeah.
And the bringing kids up.
And that was the shit that they told us not to talk about at the dinner table. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, because it was supposed to be quick, wasn't it?
That's good.
Yeah, so I ended up in London, Scotland, did all that jazz, never left me. And then I decided to apply for the Australian Film, Television, Radio School, called up the guy who didn't hire me and said, I'm coming back to Australia. He said, we'd love to help you get into the radio show.
How old were you at the time?
So I was 22 when I threw all my toys out of the pram and they told me, like, you're not the girl for the show.
But how old were you when you...
When I came back, 26. 26. So that's when my career in radio started.
I like to draw the timeline for the audience so they can kind of get a gauge.
I'm 40 now, just FYI.
All right, cool.
So that was
awesome.
14
Didn't have to
years
ask
ago.
the woman how old she is.
Well, I know you probably would have said like 35. So
I had you at 37.
Oh, really? No,
it's always -3.
Is that
Nah. No, I'm just a nice guy. I'm just a chill guy hanging out.
You're the chill, nice guy.
Yeah. So 26, you come back. They wanted to help you. How long did it take before you got your first gig?
I got it. Well, I went to, I called the guy who didn't hire me. And I went in and again, I did all the free time on air. I went in and helped them in the afternoons.
How long for?
For a year.
Okay.
And then I'd applied for the Australian Film, Television, Radio School. So they helped me put my pitch together. Because you have to apply.
How much did that cost?
It didn't cost anything to get.
Amazing.
Oh, actually, no. To go there, it was like 20 grand.
For
1 year.
For a year.
Yeah, to get my diploma.
How did you get that money?
Best of the best.
How did you get that money?
Parents? Or no, I had to do what I did for uni. Had to pay it back. So Hex.
Hex.
You could do it on Hex.
You could do it on Hex?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I was like, did my parents pay for that? They paid for a lot of like everything else.
I mean, you've got three options, right? You can be in debt through Hex. You can, grind away on weekends or, after work or whatever in your job to save the money to then get the resource that will get you to the next level. It's a game. It's literally a game.
Yeah.
And, if you don't have the capacity to, go for a year to get the funds, then there's those other options. But you need to be sure. You were sure.
I was sure.
You were told early and you were like, wow, I can be a radio host. You did it for free for 2 years.
Yeah.
That is a justification that that's something that is for you.
Yeah.
For you personally.
Oh, honestly, it was in my blood.
Yeah.
And, I left radio when I had my son at 35, 36.
Yep.
And I grieved a lot. Like I had to let go of a lot. And that, I think, how I said to you today, I finally arrived in my next life, in my reinvention. I'd been fighting it for so long that I might go back. Should I go back? Would I go to the East Coast? Like all of these things. And so I was never playing in my business 100% since I left radio because I still had a feeling of my foot being back in the door because it was like it was in my blood.
You can't be half pregnant.
Yeah, I was half pregnant. Don't tell Harvey that. So he'll be like, what, we're having another baby? I thought we said we weren't.
Half pregnant in business is the worst thing you can do for yourself and your business and the people in your business.
Yeah, 100%.
And your clients as well, because you're not fully committed because you're thinking about your yesteryears. If you're thinking about your yesteryears, go back to them.
I think, there's a lot in grief. And I think, it's like when people go...
Well, it's reflection.
Yeah, and I think for me, like when, football players, right, they retire and then they're like, what the fuck do I do with my life?
Let's be a real estate agent.
But like for me, it was, I was in radio and that I thought I was going to die behind the microphone. And so for me to have these feelings, these little voices in my head going, don't go back. And like I actually stepped into the unknown I did. I had to grieve this whole person. I had to grieve what I wanted once knew. I had to grieve my future. And that took time as a new mum. And, you know, when I was half in business, so I burnt myself out completely. And then I blew my whole entire business up 2 or 3 years ago.
What was your business to start with?
I went in to do coaching in PR and memorable as fuck marketing, I called it. It was very successful. It was a multi-6-figure coaching program. I had thousands of people. However, I wasn't 100% all in. And so I was burning myself out. I didn't have systems, processes, you know, all of the foundational stuff that I'm now working on, like hubbies, and my word for 2025 is foundations in our family.
Yeah. We've all been there, but I need to unpack it a little bit.
Okay.
With you.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this feels like therapy. Welcome.
This is why the chairs are so comfortable.
Yeah, I know. So good.
A little bit of a personal question. How am I going so far from a radio experience point of view?
Oh, for you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're going where I'm going.
Good.
A lot of people, they get nervous and they have all their questions written down.
I have them. I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah,
yet.
exactly. Yeah. So that's great prep. And this is, you know, I've interviewed some of the biggest names in the world, Robbie Williams, like Khloe Kardashian, Jared Leto, like fucking massive names. And you do the research.
You need your wits about you.
Yeah. And then when you go in, you follow the vibe.
Follow the vibe.
Follow the vibe. Like you could have gone back and gone like, actually, we were talking about like when she was, you know, back in London and she was 26 and blah, blah, blah. But I've skipped ahead till I'm 40, but you're playing in that area.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that. And and then that's when the interview feels weird and awkward.
All right, let's get back to it.
So sorry.
That's all right.
But my assessment is 5 out of 5.
The ultimate goal here is to give value to the younger audience who may think about your career path and follow it, or take notes out of it, anecdotes, stories, so then they can, you know, follow a blueprint in their own way, but be confident that, hey, right, 2 years of free work to see, 1, if I'm good enough, and 2, if I like it.
Yeah.
And if you like it and you love it and you become passionate about it, you will become good enough.
Exactly. And this is the thing. You can't teach passion.
No.
So,
but you can mentor it.
Oh, yeah.
You can mentor passion. That's my title
what
on my Instagram.
What if you don't have any passion at all about it?
That's even more exciting.
Do you reckon?
Because you're in an exploring stage of what it could be.
Whereas most people would be too frustrated and give up as the mentee. They would be like, fuck, we can't teach this guy. Whereas see, for me, I'm like, you can learn all these skills, but if the passion isn't there,
absolutely,
I probably won't hire you.
Your soul will not be on fire.
Yeah. Because that's what you want. And like that was what for me radio was, and why I probably progressed very quickly. I didn't just have the talent like the guy saw. I had the passion and the fire in my belly, and I wasn't going to let anyone stand in my way. Like I was going all in, and I did, and I made it to the top, and then that was it, you know?
One of the things I am unpacking in my guests is when you succeeded, you didn't then create a school about how to become a radio presenter.
No, I could have, I swear to God, but no one has the money for that because radio pays pittance when you're really young, and like the first few years.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. I see a lot of coaches, gurus online who have done something and then they've pivoted to teach that something.
Oh, yeah.
But that something was a moment in time. They haven't kept evolving to go, what's next? All right, let's evolve this.
Yeah.
Instead, they're evolving a coaching program that's pretty much redundant because they're no longer a practitioner.
Yeah.
But you went in and did something else. So you pivoted. What made you go, right, this is the next venture?
PR?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I studied PR at uni.
So we're stacking skills here.
Yeah. So, but do you know what? If I'm being completely honest, I didn't fucking learn anything at uni compared to what I learned when I was on the job doing PR in London. I worked for 2 years at a PR agency. And then from what I learned there, even though I got bullied by my boss, even though I had the worst anxiety of my life, I stored it in here, and then I used my PR skills when I was building my radio career, going from a breakfast announcer in Bunbury, Western Australia, so regional, to go to Perth. Within 2 years, I went from Bunbury to Newcastle to Perth, and that was because I used my PR skills. Everything was about PRing myself and my personal brand to build that so that I was the person that they were talking about. I was the person that, you know, and that's not an egotistical thing. It was more for the show, really, to get the listeners. And it was to get, like, for me, like, it was to get people to listen to our show, because I fucking was on a mission to make people happy. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make people feel. I wanted people to actually connect.
You want to serve.
And and create impact. And I didn't have all those words then when I started in, you know, my first breakfast radio job in 2011. I didn't have those words to say that. Now I do, because I've evolved. I've done the self-development, I know. But that was why I got into it.
You know what your PR stands for? Your personal PR is personal resilience.
Yes.
Professional resilience, personal
That's my
resilience.
next keynote.
Right?
Yeah.
You created resilience through your 20s, and then you're pivoting into your practical side in London, where you had a bad boss.
Yeah.
A bully boss.
Yeah.
But
she taught me everything I knew.
Right? And I've had moments like that through my other ventures.
Yeah.
I've had a gym boss or gym owner, absolute narcissistic asshole. But I learned so much from him in hindsight.
Yeah, not when you're in it.
No.
Not when you're fucking in it. You think you have every way you could get out of it. However, I was still drawn to that person. I don't know if you were as well. Like, I was still, and maybe that was the people pleaser, the anxiety, everything. I was scared, fearful, like all of that shit. But I also learned to play the game.
Exactly. Playing the game is, I learned the game early. I was a lifeguard at a pool in Kalgoorlie. So I'm a country kid too.
Oh my God, I love that. Love Kalgoorlie.
My manager, one of my managers, every time she came on shift, she'd come to me straight away and pick something that I did wrong. There was never a compliment. There was never a, doing a good job, Sev.
Yeah.
There was always a, you didn't do this right.
Yeah.
You didn't do this right. You didn't do this right. I was like, you bitch.
Yeah.
It just stressed me out.
Yeah.
Gave me anxiety. Every time she was on pool deck, I'm like,
you're constantly
fuck,
on edge.
Is everything done? Is everything done? Is everything done? That's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? In hindsight, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Could she have led better? Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? Did she teach me how to not lead like her? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
So there was a lot of evolution from that as an employee and as a leader.
Yeah.
And then the way that I got over it and the way that I learned it was a game was, you know what? I'm going to have an internal bingo card of what she will tell me I did wrong next. Created that bingo card. And then I'm like, oh, there it is, classic,
got it,
this. And then I was like, I've got this bingo card. Well, fucking let's like nut these out and see if she still complains about them.
Yeah.
Nutted it out. Didn't complain about them.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I had the predictions of what she's not good enough with.
Yeah.
She still complains. She's still a bitch.
Obviously, that was her mindset.
But by then, I didn't have any stress, anxiety, or anything like that because I was like, that's who you are.
I know it's about accepting, isn't it? And but when you're so in it, it's so hard.
It's so hard. And these conversations I like to give to the kids because they're going to be in it, in the depths.
Yeah.
But it's the second thought that they will receive on what should they do about it.
Yeah.
Like, then what?
Yeah, then what?
Then
exactly.
what?
Yeah.
You're in the shit, you fucked up, or you're not liking what they're saying, then what?
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to solve this internally or externally or both and then go from there? So you were able to do that in London. When you were in the midst of it, in the hellhole, it would have felt like hell.
Oh my God, it was like one of the biggest breakdowns in my life.
Right.
And then from there, I've shared my story and I write about it in my book. Like, it created, me taking accountability, and I've got help. I learnt about anxiety, and
you took accountability.
Yeah, I took accountability.
Did you take accountability or did you take responsibility?
Ooh, I took responsibility, but I took accountability for my actions too, because I was a drug taker and
you can't actually take accountability for yourself.
Oh my God, is this a lesson in English?
This is a new lesson that I've learned recently. So the best way to learn something is to teach someone else.
Yes. Okay. So here we go.
You can't actually take accountability for yourself. You can only take responsibility.
Radical responsibility.
You can take whatever you want to call it.
I'm all about being radical.
You can take accountability for someone else.
Yeah.
And you can receive accountability from someone else. It is your responsibility to do what you need to do.
So we can't say I'm accountable now?
No, you're responsible.
I'm responsible.
You're responsible.
Who told you this?
Jennifer Elliott.
Oh, lady from yesterday.
Shout outs to Jen.
Oh, interesting. I love that. I'll have to listen to the
this when it's live. This is a whole new thing for me, right? Obviously, because it's yesterday.
Yeah.
But the accountability thing is an excuse. I'm not accountable enough. No, you're not, because you're not responsible first. When you're responsible, then you
can be accountable.
You just do it. There's no accountability. You're just responsible for your shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I had to be responsible for my shit.
What changed your What made you go, I need to be more responsible for me?
The way I was treating people.
Yeah.
Because I was unhappy.
Yeah.
You know? And so for me, it was like I was so scared of this boss, and I was taking drugs, I was having sex. I mean, like when I look back, I was pretty fun. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was a fun time of my life.
Yeah.
I met my husband there. You know, we didn't actually hook up then. That was 5 years after that. However, I came home and I wanted to do radio.
Yeah.
But for me to do radio, I had to work through my shit. And, you know, I run these shows now called The Shit Show Live Stories.
Shed their shit.
Yeah, shed your shit.
Yeah.
Like the Shit Show Live Stories, because as you said, when you're in the shit, it's like, what's next? A lot of people don't take that responsibility and they don't have that aha moment and they don't find that resilience. Whereas for me, I'm always looking for like the lesson. I'm always looking for the aha. Like when I'm in it, obviously I'm like, oh, this is the worst fucking time of my life. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, fuck, that's why this happened. This is why I did this. And then they're the stories that I continue to share.
Give me your workflow.
My workflow?
Give me your workflow for when you're in the shit.
Like, what do you mean?
So you find yourself in an uncommon place. You're not happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I was...
What's next?
So for me, I guess it's like the biggest thing is like taking responsibility for your actions, because I think a lot of the time when we're unhappy...
What's your first action?
Is awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah, awareness.
So identify
like what's going on in your head.
Number one.
Yeah, what's going on in your head? What are the voices saying? A lot of people don't realize they have the voices in their head. Like, you know,
your inner monologue.
Yeah, your inner monologue, your inner critic. I call them my inner mean girls. Like they've got names: self-loathing Sally, anxious Annie.
You're bad and you're ugly.
Yeah, like, and so they're always there, but sometimes they're really loud. I've learnt to, you know, to work with them. Some of them have disappeared.
Yeah.
You know, but they've come out in other areas. So the biggest thing first is awareness, and then the second thing for me is the power of shedding your shit, which is being vulnerable. And that's saying like, hey, I've got this going on in my head, or oh, this is how I'm feeling, which a lot of people miss that step and they won't tell anyone, and then they drink, that, you know, that we do all the things, then we're destructive. So for me, it's always about awareness, and then who we're going to open up to about what we're actually thinking and feeling.
How do you know who you're going to open up to?
I think this is the thing. Like, honestly, I'll be so honest. I'm so good at talking to strangers. Like this for me is therapy, because I'm learning so much about myself again today. Like, so I've always been someone who's opened up on radio. That's what I became famous for, being really, really fucking vulnerable and open and honest. But mum was like, you were always like that. However, I don't feel super comfortable always doing that with people that I know and love, right? Which is most of us. We're scared of the judgment. What are they going to say? Will they be there for us? They think I'm perfect, all the things. So I always used to say to people when I first started talking about this, send me a message. Like, send me the message. Tell me how you're feeling.
That's accountability.
In the DMs.
That's
like,
accountability.
Do that. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, do that. Like, I'm there. I'm ready to take it. When I did that, I had over 1,000 messages once. So, and I've got back to every single person. And that was when I first started talking about my anxiety and what it was doing to me and how it was making me feel. And this is over time that I've realized this is the formula for me. It's the first step, the awareness. Second step is the power of vulnerability, the famous TED Talk by Brene Brown. But for me, I call that your shedding of your shit, right?
Great.
Like, and it might be that you just send your mate a text message. It might be that, you know, you call your mum. It might be that, you know, you send me a message. Like, whatever it is, you do want to feel safe. And I think that's where you've got to, like, who's your safe person? Sometimes we have friends that are like person we go out with and get blind drunk, but they're not really safe to have these conversations with, because they don't really fucking listen, or they don't, do you know what I mean? Or they give you too much advice. So it's
they don't care.
Or they don't care, because we all mostly care about ourselves. Yeah. But, you know, so it's like finding And that I think comes with the awareness, like thinking about that. But don't also, like it might be a psychologist. And a lot of people I know go, oh, but I haven't found the right one. I did date a few. I dated a fair few psychologists and I found my go-to for 5 years, but then I outgrew her. And so now I do a lot of coaching with people. Like I won't necessarily go to a psychologist. I'll go find a coach instead for that one area, you know, and that's what works for me. And that's my safe person.
I want to challenge you on the safe person.
Well, yes.
Would you rather have a truthful person or a safe person?
I guess maybe I should define what safe is.
Yes.
So truthful all the way.
Yes.
Safe, I mean, how does your body feel when you're with them? So, you know, and this has been a real big thing for me in my personal development journey in the last couple of years, like understanding my own nervous system. And certain people, I'll go straight into freeze. So they're probably not the best person that I could be if I'm reaching out to begin with. If this was the first time I was reaching out, they're probably not the first person. If my body's tensing up and doing all this shit, like, are they the best person that I should speak? Like, does my body feel safe? Do you know what I mean? So I agree. The person, whoever they are, like, you know, maybe they just need to listen. Maybe you don't need any advice and you just need to say it. That's always my thing.
What about the
just
outcome?
Say it.
What about the outcome of your shedding your shit?
There's so many outcomes.
No, setting the outcome.
Oh, setting the outcome?
Yes.
Well, I guess for me, right, I spoke openly about my anxiety on breakfast radio. I spoke openly about how I hated the way that I looked on breakfast radio. I didn't really think about the outcome at the time. That was the very first step for me. Had I have not had those moments of vulnerability, I wouldn't have been able to realize that, oh, there's so much awareness in doing that. There's so much power in opening up and having other people see me fully, like naked, metaphorically naked, you know, and then, but also like realizing like, oh, other people have felt seen too.
Yeah.
So for me, there was no outcome. Do you know what I mean? At the time. And some people have said, you know, I've been interviewed many times about when I spoke out about anxiety for the first time, like, were you worried what the listeners were going to think? Like, you're supposed to be confident, out there, like not give a fuck.
You're more real.
Yeah.
You're more real.
Yeah,
and that's what they
real.
see. And that's what they want. And we're seeing a lot of that come through even politics now.
Yeah.
Don't want to mention politics too much in my shows because it's another discussion with someone that's more political.
Exactly. I don't want to go there either.
But the more real you are, it seems that more people want to know more about you.
Yeah.
There's that era of fancy intro and, you know, step by step and the predictability. Yeah. It becomes too predictable.
Yeah.
It's like, give me something new. Give me something different. Give me something unique about you. And you did that.
And I think that's what, like, I guess that's the biggest thing about my whole brand and who I am is it's like, I just want you to realize it's taken me a long time to become the woman that I am. This is 10 years. Like, this is 10 years in the making, me sitting here having these conversations, understanding myself, becoming obsessed with human behavior, why I did the things that I did, like awareness, all this stuff. But the very first thing that I can only offer everyone that changed for me was being open and honest and vulnerable and sharing how I was truly feeling and being real. So that's what I became famous for, raw, real, honest conversations.
That's what most creatives become famous for, quote unquote, because it is the portfolio, this the front cover. Why am I going to read your book?
Yeah.
Because the front cover shows vulnerability and authenticity.
Yes.
So going back to your process, you've got your awareness.
Yeah.
Then you've got your vulnerability. So letting it out, shedding your shit. What comes after that?
Exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy. Great.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Now, I'm no psychologist, obviously. However, I did actually get into study psychology at uni and decided to do PR instead.
Did you say you dated a psychologist?
No. Dated. Like, I literally was for 5 years, saw her because like that. Because like for my
she
own.
was a lesbian for 5 years.
No, that's what I meant. No. Although, like, no one's ever taken it like that before. I love that you went to the lesbian. I've only ever kissed girls, never gone down on.
Did you like it?
Do you know what? It was fun, but we did it for the attention.
It was exposure therapy.
It was exposure therapy. And I think if I ever was to go down on a girl, I like dick.
Fair enough. Now, exposure therapy.
Too much?
Segue back to
You need to get my friend Rosie Rees on here. She'll have some good conversations.
Keen. So how do you accomplish, or
So exposure therapy for me kind of, so like I said, not a psychologist, but it works for me. So every day I started exposing myself to certain things that were taking me to overcome these fears of, like, say, if it was what people were thinking about me with my body image. So I'll use the example of, like, I didn't...
Use that example.
Yeah. So for me, I hated my body.
Yes.
So for years and years and years, I wouldn't have even had my legs out. I would have had my arms covered up. I never wore a bikini. I always wore shorts and T-shirts. And when I first opened up about my body image on the radio, the guy that I was living with at the time, Wayne, said, okay, so how are you going to walk the walk now?
Yeah.
You've talked the talk, Heidi Anderson. How are you going to walk the walk? He's like, you can't go back. You've fucking declared to all these people, it's gone viral, da 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 da. And I was like, oh shit. So I went to my co-host, I was like, maybe we should photograph the parts of our bodies that we hate and get all the listeners to do that. And he was like, yeah, that's great. And we're confronting in that moment, exposing ourselves to the parts of our bodies that we hate. So we did this. We had all these people join us. Then I said, maybe we should all, like, get in our swimmers, even though this is the most terrifying thing, but we all support each other. And that was where the Shed Your Shit swims started in Bunbury in 2011. And that, for me, exposing myself, getting down into my swimwear in front of all of our listeners, in front of, photographed by the newspaper. Mia Friedman called in, like, to our radio show.
Cool.
Like, they ran stories all on the East Coast. I was, like, one of the first people who started saying, like, talking about body image. And so I was exposing myself by sharing my story to people's opinions. I was actually physically exposing my body by people there. Like, I was petrified. Like, I was so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable. But from there I was like, okay, well, how do I continue to do this? And so for me, it was like I would wear my swimmers just around the house because I was scared of my own fucking thoughts and what I was saying. So I'd look in the mirror. That was exposure therapy. So I started using mirrors to expose myself to what was going on. And then I would hear those voices. And then I started asking questions, the awareness. Well, where does that come from? Why am I saying that to myself? And that was where I realized the narratives within the media, what I grew up watching, what I grew up listening to, things that were said to me as a kid. I'm sure I'm someone else's mean girl in their head. I think we all play that in our own. That's a whole other topic for another day. So the exposure actually helped me start to understand and become aware of the voices in my head. And so I ended up going and buying a bikini like 2 or 3 years later. And I remember just putting it in my room and it sat there for 3 fucking years. I didn't even want to try it on at the shop because I was like petrified of what the voices would say when I was in the change rooms. Anyway, so I then started just walking out to the letterbox. And then I started doing all different things in this bikini around the house till the voices weren't so loud anymore. And they then started going like, oh, maybe you could go outside in this bikini down to the beach. And so the very first time I wore a bikini was in 2016. And I got my husband to take a photo on the beach. I remember sucking in so much and I'd like fake tanned myself and I put it on Instagram. Wow. And that to me was like, I was absolutely petrified. I was not comfortable or confident or anything like that, but I pretended that I was. Yeah. And then I started this blogging about body image and my, all the things that I was going through. And really, when I look back, I was like, I wasn't trying to help other people. I was trying to help myself. Yeah. And so that was part of the exposure. And so exposure therapy, they use like if you're scared of spiders, you will sit there and if you work with a psychologist, eventually they're going to get you to confront the spider and you might end up holding a spider. So I use it in like exposure activities. I've walked through shopping centres in my bra and undies now. And that was the next level. I did, photo shoots on the beach. So I eventually got comfortable in a bikini. Yeah, became a beacon. Started to love myself.
Awesome.
And then I've done, huge bits of exposure therapy, but I do little bits every single day. Like,
what comes next?
So what comes next? So we've got awareness, the power of vulnerability, exposure therapy, 1% changes.
1% changes. Tell me about that.
So the 1% from there is it's like, because a lot of people are like, fuck Heidi Anderson, I can't do exposure therapy. Yep. So I'm like, well, cool. What if you could make 1% changes every single day or be 1% better than you were yesterday? Then by the end of the year, you've got 365%. Like that's how I look at it. I'm like 365% better. So for me, it was like those little bits like walking to, the letterbox was like that 1% there. For me at the moment, I now love the beach. I go in there even if the shark alarm's gone off and everyone's allowed back at the beach later. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm in there because I'm exposing myself. I'm scared. I was petrified of sharks. I'm scared of waves, massive waves getting dumped. So I'll throw myself into a wave to get dumped every now and then. Do you know what I mean? But they're the little 1%ers. It's like reading that 10 pages of a book to understand myself a little bit more. It's everything comes to me. And if I just make those little 1% changes, I've done huge exposure therapy that's changed my life in one day. From walking through a shopping centre. However, then I've got the little things that are happening every single day.
I want to go into a little bit more of a controversial swing of this because you talked about body image.
Yes.
And exposure therapy. What if, hypothetically, you put that Instagram post up and the first comment was, look at this fatty.
I've had that before. I've already had that. The very first feedback I got working in breakfast radio in Bunbury was, you're so fat and disgusting. Go eat an apple and go for a walk, which now I laugh. However, I've been absolutely trolled to the worst degree of going viral in my bikini walking through a shopping centre. And so the thing is, that to me is that mirror.
Yeah.
That's the exposure.
Yeah.
So there was negative comments because to everyone listening right now, I'm a size 14.
Yep.
To some people they'll be like, oh, BMI, you're obese. We don't do BMI, by the way, anymore, but whatever.
BMI shit.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? There's still a lot. And I've had this conversation on our mate's podcast, the Hard Yarns podcast.
Branchy.
Yeah, because they were trying to understand, but when you're healthy, you're healthy. You're a certain physique.
Certain physique.
Yeah, you're a certain physique. You're certain
physique. Tell me more what you mean about certain physique.
That you have to, you're a certain size. If you've got cellulite, if you're a certain size, then you're not healthy. And it's like, well, no, there's a lot of research. There's a lot of people that are all different shapes and sizes, and they have health issues or they are that, genetics, blah, blah, blah. I was on a show called What Does Australia Really Think About Obesity? And I did the power walk of no shame with 100 people. We walked through the busiest night markets here in Perth, and we ended the show because, there are people that are happy being fat.
Is that a responsible thing though?
Yeah.
Happy being unhealthy.
Well, but for me, right?
Yeah.
This is my thing. It's their life. If their life and they're happy. Yeah. Then what does that have to do with you? And this is my thing, right?
Yeah.
It's, Mel Robbins has just released the book, Let Them.
Yeah, I put it in my library.
Yeah, it's so good. I've started it. So I get it, right? There's the health, we can start talking about all of that shit, right? My dad's just been diagnosed with dementia. There's many reasons why we could be going down that path, So for me, my goal now is optimal health. But the reason why I've been able to, I guess, find love for myself and want optimal health is because I accepted myself in those darkest days when I was looking back, that bigger girl that, that was obese. Had I not have accepted her, I don't believe I would be on the path that I am. So what I teach with this whole, it's not body positivity, it's body acceptance.
Yeah.
What I teach is
that's the first stage.
If you can accept yourself where you are today, whether you're fat, skinny, because there's, a lot of people have body image issues because of their acne, the size, that they're a size 6, they feel too thin. It's not just about obesity. And so I'm if you can actually accept yourself in that moment, I promise you're going to start to want to look after yourself. That's the thing.
That's it.
So I guess that for me is, for a long time, I didn't know how to explain that or say that because, I think you do. These are big conversations.
Scenario.
Yeah.
You've accepted it, but what you've accepted is you are healthy, but in fact you're not. What then?
Well, I think it's what is healthy, right? That's a whole other topic for another day because we've got
well, it's a science.
Yeah, but then you've got so much stuff out that, do you know what I mean? The consumer, what we're seeing today on Netflix, you can watch a show you shouldn't eat sugar, you shouldn't do this, a lot of stuff. And I hate to say this, and it's we sit there and we go, it's science, but there is so much around science and marketing, and you will understand
Very
this.
True.
So scientists are paid, and I'm not saying this, you know, but they are paid, and there's so many that have backtracked on what they've fucking said 10 years later because it's been proven incorrect. So I don't personally want to go down that it's science, because the health industry in itself is billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they have created a physique. They have created a way that we look.
Tell you,
they have created. So for me, it's like there's a lot of marketing behind it where we're, you know, this is why we have yo-yo dieters. This is why we have people that hate themselves.
So with the science, when I say it's science, I mean that it is a science, but it's your science to also understand the research, which is required. How do you know that specific science article is true? When is it not true? Could there be a different opinion somewhere else? Have you looked for it? What are your thoughts about that opinion? All of a sudden we're going down the Socratic method that nobody talks about. I'll give you an example of what I believe. I have a friend and he's obese. I'm going to tell him he's fat every single time I see him. Why? Because I don't want to be at his funeral earlier than it should be. I want to live with, I want to hang out with him into our twilight years because he fucking took action. He is responsible for his own health. I'm responsible to keep him accountable because I'm a good friend. I want to tell the truth. Hey man, how you going? Fuck, you look fat. Fuck, you are fat. When's the next time you're going to do something about it?
See, that makes me so uncomfortable.
Right?
And cringy that we would even want to speak to someone that way.
Exactly.
Because they're already, you know, some of us are already speaking to ourselves like that. That was me.
Exactly. But here's my point. My friends understand me. They feel safe when I talk with them. They don't feel vulnerable because I tell the truth. If I don't tell the truth, I'm doing a disservice to them and to me.
There's truth and there's also how you deliver it, right?
Of course.
And that's the thing. You know, and there's a lot of...
So here's how you deliver it. You got to inoculate. You got to come in and say, mate, what I'm about to say to you may upset you. It may make you feel uncomfortable. You may even get offended. Be ready for it. Not, are you okay with that? Don't soften it. Inoculate. And then deliver it.
But I don't think, see, this is where I'm like, the people are so different. Like, everyone's so different, right?
Of course.
And for me, it's like...
But I'm not going to go up to a stranger and do that.
But people do.
And
this is the thing. And this is what I... Yeah, exactly. And this is the conversations that I want to have. Is it's like, you know... What does my weight have to do with you?
Of course.
What does my looks have to do with you?
Yeah.
And that is because you have programming in your mind of what we're supposed to be.
Yeah. Don't be a preacher. Don't be a preacher.
Yeah.
The love I have for my family and friends is real.
Yeah.
Otherwise they wouldn't be my friends and I wouldn't call these people my family.
Yeah.
So I believe, this is my personal belief, if people don't want to be my friend because they're worried that I'm going to call them out on their bullshit, so be it. I want my friends to call me out on my bullshit. So that's it. You're right, though. Going up to someone, a stranger, and going, you know, you're fat, you're ugly, I don't like your hair, whatever, that's not needed.
No, it's not. And this is the thing that I teach my son, right? It's nothing to do with any way that he looks. Yeah, exactly. Let them. But it's all about a feeling. I'm trying to teach him about a feeling, how we feel inside. Yes, he's 5. I'm trying to get him to fucking eat, you know, fruit and vegetables and all that kind of jazz. But, you know, I guess for me, it's like where I've got to a point with my health and what I want to achieve is I know what works for me. So science might say that we've got to eat X, Y, Z. The Z part don't work for me.
No.
So I'm not going to do that. But I believed that for so long. I had to do that. And do you know what I mean? So I think when you get to a point of accepting and going okay, this is where I'm at today. I'm 100 kilos and I fucking accept it. I got here however I got here, right? I accept it, that is what the magic was for me.
Of course.
Is that I was like, then I was able to make the changes that I wanted to make, not for other people, not for what society says, not for beauty standards, unrealistic beauty standards. It was because what I wanted. And that's what I think what my whole mission is, you know, is it's like if you can love yourself at every single part of you, at every single shape, size, whatever, because through life we're all going to go through different, you know, like challenges with our health or whatever it is. If you can show yourself that love and find it within, you'll be able to find something that works for you. If you want to go down that road of losing
What about
weight
delusion?
or like delusion, I think everyone needs a bit of delusion. I think we lose it, right? Like as little kids, we're fucking delusional as hell. And some of my most successful friends in business are still delusional and they play in fantasy land. And that is why they have the success that they have. So I like delusion, but you know, I guess it's like, the big question for me is it's like, why do we care so much about like, you know, preaching to people about the way they should live their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we get a choice, we get one life. That's how I see it now. And I'm like, so I want to live the best, most healthiest life. Wish I knew that like strength training worked for me in my 20s. Like I wish I knew that cigarette, like, you know what I mean? Like all these, alcohol puffs me up. So mine wasn't necessarily even like, mine was so much inflammation, you know, from what I drank. So yeah, I think like it's such a complex topic, but for me, I just want people to accept each other because like at the forefront of what I've seen in my life is that everyone just judges everyone within 2 seconds about what they look like and they've already made a decision. And that's what I'm trying to change is it's like,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's a puzzle.
Yeah. Find that like there's so much more than what you're seeing. Yeah. There's so much more that like, can't you put that aside? Like don't fucking judge her if she's happy. And I'm not saying she is like, or he is, but like just look beyond that.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
The hard questions do need to be asked, though. Mm-hmm. Bottom line, I believe the hard questions do need to be asked. And that is out of a love and respect thing. Let's move away from body image for a second.
Yeah.
Or let's just change that. Before we started this podcast recording, we started talking about investments, crypto, houses and things like that.
Yes.
Can you see how that directly is the same thing? So context for everybody that wasn't in the room, everyone else. Heidi came and we started talking about money, talking about investment. And I started talking about buying back your time because it's been ingrained into my everything for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I went at it and told you what I think you should do. I didn't even inoculate you. I didn't even go, mate, you know, I reckon, can I give you a little bit? I just said to you, here, and here. And you took a photo, you took it in, you valued it. Wasn't financial advice, but I painted a picture for you of what I think you're missing, what I think you're quote unquote delusional about. Because I see it for most of people. I was in that stage myself. And you've got a far better investment portfolio amongst all the things than I do. Not that that matters. What matters is then what, right? Can you see how that can relate to
Yeah, and I'll tell you why I wasn't like triggered by your assertiveness or your confidence in what you're doing is because I've done the work.
Right.
I've done the work on myself.
Right.
I know what, you know, people now, like, I don't have to get in and fight if someone says, oh, they're fat, whereas I felt like I always needed to fight that before. I didn't, when you said that stuff, like, I can take what I need and leave the rest.
So what
but
about...
before I never, do you know what I mean? And everyone can do that. So what you've told me out there and what you've sold me, do I know it's 100% factual? No, but you're passionate about it. Yeah. You're excited. Yeah. So I was open to that. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing for me is it's like I've done the work on myself. Like before it might have been like defensive. Like, who's this fucking guy trying to tell me? I've known him for 2 seconds. Do you know what I mean? And I'm talking from my own experience of how I used to be reactive. Yeah. You know, and it doesn't mean you have to do the work to accept, but I think a lot of people are defensive. It's our innate nature. And so if someone is going to come up with assertiveness and confidence and like, you know, and tell them how to live their life and what they should eat and everything, well, they're going to probably shut down.
Yeah, for sure. So if they haven't done the work, we're going back to body image.
And by the work, I mean, for me, it's been it's like understanding myself. Like I said, like those thoughts, like going to psychologists, finding coaches, reading books, wanting to like heal from like understanding my inner child stuff. Like, you know, there's so much to that. And I think as a society, like I've got so many amazing friends that are doing the work, and that's, I think, happens when you go into business. You tend to do the work. You have a child. It's the fucking hardest. If you choose that, it's the biggest like self-discovery journey you'll go on. So I think for me, that experience, and now my experience is I'm not going to take it on as what you're saying or what someone else is saying as personal anymore. Yeah. Whereas before, I think that's what I would have done. And then I always felt like I needed to fight for everyone's voice. Like if you were saying they're fat or whatever. Whereas now I'm like, cool, that's your opinion. I don't feel that. Yeah. And this is what I'm going to fight for.
Yeah. That's exactly my point as well. When I tell a friend what's happening with the finances, are you structuring it in a way? I always like to grab permission as well. But I also sometimes get ahead of myself and say, you need to hear this. Yeah. Trust me, you need to hear this.
But you're excited and you want them. And this is how I feel about like people building confidence.
But I'm also excited about helping people lose weight. I used to be a personal trainer. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't go up to clients at the gym or future clients at the gym going, oh, there's a fatty there. I'm going to look at them and just get them going, you know? Yeah. Clearly, they have money because they can buy food to stuff themselves. I didn't do that.
But that's, again, an assumption. Right. Isn't it? That's an assumption which a lot of people have. Right. That's the narrative I want to change.
Going back to the inner circle, my friends appreciate my transparency and my truthfulness. Externally, I only do it if someone asks me to. There's a lot of personal development that I've had over the last 5 years to get there. Because when I learn something, oh my God, everybody needs to learn this. Not really. Most of them won't be ready for it.
Yeah, right. And this is my thing. It's like,
But I like talking about it from observation. You talk about proactive and reactive. When I tell someone something that could be seen as a personal attack on their character or their habits or their appearance, I want to make sure that they can be proactive, not reactive. Because reactive, all right, cool.
And I think it's like that feeling safe, right? Yeah. Like, so a lot of us don't. But like what I saw you over there when you were doing that, that's how I am with like wanting to change people's thoughts around themselves, because I know that if they can understand this, then there's so much magic on the other side. Do you know what I mean? There's so much.
So much magic. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So and that's what I love about people. But, you know, I think for many of us, sometimes we take it personally and we go like, oh my God, they're attacking me.
Why do we take it personally?
Well, I think it comes down to how we're raised, like how, you know, what household were you in? So for me, I come from what you watch. Like I love my parents. I love them, but they don't communicate. Yeah. They're terrible, terrible communicators. So both of them come from big trauma, you know, huge trauma that came into my childhood. And they were just doing their best and they were hardworking. But, you know, so then I became like my innate thing is defensiveness, because like that's what I saw my mum or my dad do all the time, you know. And so like that programming was so deep. And through my marriage with my husband, like we've had to work so much, because his is not talking at all, shutting down, because that's what they did in their household, you know. But I don't think enough people have these conversations. No. Especially in society, a lot of people aren't conscious. And so for me, when you start to find that, you know, being conscious, and I think a lot of that has happened for me.
That's part of acceptance.
Yeah, and the probably the biggest thing for me was becoming a parent. And that was the game changer because like me and hubby, we sit there and we're like, imagine not being a conscious parent. And we're like, and by that we mean like I would probably yell all day long and I would do all these things, but like because I've chosen another way to understand how he is so that I don't, and like I said, my parents did a good job. They're probably not going to listen to this anyway, but you know, they did the best that they could.
Yeah.
But they still could have done so many things differently, but they didn't have the tools. They didn't have the education. They didn't, whereas we have this. So yeah, there's so much about being conscious.
And with that, what is your next move in terms of what's your biggest passion? What's your biggest project that you are conscious about, that you want to bring into 2025? Shifting chapters, by the way.
I know. We've had some big combos, haven't we?
That's good.
I think for me, like, so I've been doing the things called shit show live stories.
Yes, that's my next section.
Yeah. And so part of that is storytelling. And again, going back to the formula that I kind of gave you, which was like the awareness and like the moment that changed my life was shedding my shit on the radio, like twice, huge moments. And so I want other people to have those moments. Because for me, there was so much power in it. And like, what was the lesson that I got from opening up on the airwaves that day about my anxieties? That I wasn't alone. And that, you know, and if I did speak, wow, people see the real me. My mask comes off and I connect in a completely different way. I'm not pretending, like there's no wall between us, like we're there, like our hearts are touching. And so I want other people to experience that. So Shit Show Live Stories was born pretty much on the radio that day and I just didn't know yet. And so I've brought it to life now as a 40-year-old woman. We've had 7 sold out shows around Australia. It's intimate, it's 50 in a crowd and you get 7 minutes to tell your story from the shit show moment and you share the lesson or the aha on the other side.
Can you share one of your favourite moments from one of your shows?
Yeah, so, there's so many. I think the beautiful thing about it, my favourite thing about it is the audience come and they never know what to expect. Yeah. So there's girls that have got up there and talked about the time that they were raped, they miscarried, like their big story, their shit show. I know you weren't expecting that. That's one of them, she lost her arms, her legs from a ninja cockle. Like another girl, she had a bike accident and is now a paraplegic. Like there are so many stories. Then there's also like my friend Steph Gorton, who's a millionaire and she was unhappy when she made her first million. Like, so there's so many different stories. There was another girl, Kim, who her sister-in-law died. They had a big party and she drunk drove on the way home and she died.
What was the outcome?
So when you get up and you share these stories, you paint the picture, you're in your shit show moment, and then what was the magic on the other side? And that's what the audience is left with. So the audience come in and they're like, what the fuck am I going to get tonight? You're going to get tears. You're going to get you wanting to leave. You might feel seen. You might feel triggered. You might feel, but at the end of the day, when you leave, you're more connected than you ever have been to yourself and to other people. And then you want to change the world. You're like, I want to share my story. I want to join. And like, it's that power of, like I spoke about, of authenticity. Yeah,
you're empowering these people in your shows. That's awesome.
So they get 7 minutes. I do ring the bell at 6 minutes. I'm like, you got 1 minute, because some people like me, we like to fucking talk. So yeah, it's amazing. And the thing is, like, it's really hard to describe. Yeah, you got to come. And this is it's really hard to market, if I'm being completely honest with you, because most people are like, shit show, they think it's going to be funny or whatever. It's like, no, when you were in the shit show last week or today, that wasn't fucking funny, was it?
Yeah, are you allowed to film them?
We film them, yeah.
There you go. There's your marketing. Just do a reel, a TikTok of that.
Yeah.
You know Morgan J? Have you heard of Morgan J? The guy that does the auto-tune stuff.
No. You have to send
me.
Look
up Morgan J. He's great. He's one of my favourite impromptu comedians. Yeah. He does a fefew bits as well. But yeah, he improvises with the audience. It's so good.
Well, and that's me. So I'm the host, I'm the MC, and you never know what you're going to get from me. Like, I tell my story, I share different parts of my story throughout different ones. And like I said, I'm always like the lesson, so the day that I took my mask off on air, I'll have everyone's got masks in the audience, and I'm like, put your mask on, and then I'm like, masks, you don't have to wear your mask here. So there's so much theatre to it. Like, there's so much actionable steps that you can take. Like, some people you might love, some people you might be like, no, I didn't get anything from them. But honestly, I haven't had bad feedback yet. Yep. Everyone who's walked away has just said, like, honestly, this is the best thing the best thing. And it's really hard to describe, like I said, because it's different every single show. And I've got some people that are front row every single show and they're like, fuck, that was the best show. Like it just keeps getting better and better. So I don't know. I love it. You know, I guess for my thing of what's your question and then what?
Yeah.
I'm kind of working on, do I look at licensing this so that people can run them around the world? You know, am I turning this into a TV show? Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I'm definitely keen on coming on. I definitely would love to attend the show.
It's usually just females.
Fuck. I'll come still.
Men can come in the crowd.
I'll do a male version. There you go. I'll be your first person.
I kind of like, you know, when you niche down and all this, it's like, so woman, or if you identify as woman or non-binary, because it's become a safe space for us to share these big things. Yeah. So I would love to have you. And maybe we'll have a night like where I might invite, because I've actually
got a story. I've got
that's what I mean. And so it's not that I didn't, like I love men, like the world, we can't run, I'm raising a son. However, it's just been this beautiful creative kind of outlet for women and, you know, and a lot of people like it's a safe space. Yeah. And that's why we've kept it intimate. So there's big plans for it, but then also I'm just trusting. That's another place that I've got to. I'm just also trusting that I'm having the best time of my life doing this at the moment.
Awesome. Like
I've found my thing post radio, and then doing like the PR stuff is a part of that with the storytelling, and the shit shows is a part of PRing yourself. So it's all coming together. So that's kind of what I've been working on behind the scenes.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you for sharing a lot of different incredible moments and stories.
I know. And then I always like get a little bit of shame, believe it or not.
You've done well.
When I walk away, I'm like, oh, should I have said, and this is what happens when people PR themselves or put themselves out there. You start to go like, oh, should I have said this? Or should I have, you know, da-da-da-da-da. I always feel therapeutic in the moment that I can be authentic. Authentic, but I do sometimes have these things where I'm like, oh, should I have said that? Did I fight for the right person that I needed to? You know, like with fat phobia and all that kind of stuff. That's something that I'm like, that's a topic, but I don't feel confident in stepping in and challenging that. So like they're the little things that I'll walk away with afterwards. But you know, this is part of the exposure, sharing your true self.
I've got one next section.
Oh my God, give it to me.
All right, so it's called Pod Decks.
Oh.
So you're going to pick a theme and just be quick fire answers.
Oh, shit the bed. Yeah.
Do not speak longer than 10 seconds per answer.
Okay, I'm pretty good at this because I worked in radio.
All right, I'm just going to sift through a lot of different themes, and you're just going to when you hear one, just say stop and do that. All right, The Hustle, The Beatles, What the Fuck, Great Inventions, True Crime, Movie Night, Techie, Deal Breakers, Conspiracy Theories, College Life, Foodie, Fitness and Health. Let's go Mental Health.
Conspiracy Theories.
Okay, we got it.
Oh, MG would have done that. Did she do that?
I was like, no, we hung out. She wasn't on the podcast. We've got other things we're doing.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
All right, first one. Do you listen to stuff they don't want you to know, or other conspiracy-related podcasts?
Yes.
Who is it?
So I listen to Hard Yarns.
Okay.
But I also Primod. He was a voice when all the vaccination stuff came out. And so I listened.
10 seconds.
Oh,
done.
fuck. Sorry.
Did you ever fall down a weird YouTube rabbit hole looking into conspiracy theories?
No, I probably just do the short Instagram, read the tiles kind of thing.
Nice.
And then I'm like, I believe that. But I also trust myself. I ask questions.
Nice. Does Area 51 have alien ships?
I think there's aliens. There's definitely aliens.
Do you think the CIA has achieved the ability to brainwash or mind control people?
Oh, 100%. We do it through the fucking TV and Netflix. Why do you think all of that shit's so big? So many different topics. Where do I start?
Many weird conspiracy theories.
But do you know what? The thing is, like, I believe the world's flat.
Did you just say that on my podcast? Holy shit.
You only get 10 seconds though, so we can't go into that.
You believe the earth is flat.
But I don't have anything to back it up, but we're just always going in a straight line.
Okay, moving on. Holy shit.
I'm going to discredit myself for everything that I've said now.
Oh my God. No judgment. You'll need a moment of reflection for that. Then you accept that you're an idiot for that comment. And then you need to exposure therapy, go into space and go, oh, fuck, I was wrong.
Yeah, I would love to go to space.
Yeah, then you'll get a
But they never landed on the moon.
Yeah, another conspiracy. What is really going on at Pine Gap in Australia?
Oh, shit, I haven't heard about Pine Gap. So that's a conspiracy I haven't delved into. Mine's more aliens, the world being flat.
Okay, a couple more questions. What celebrities are probably members of the Illuminati? Give me two.
Ooh, John Travolta.
Okay, good one.
So Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Yeah, Barack Obama, sorry.
Barack Obama.
Barack.
Did you see the video the other day when him and Trump were having a chat? It was old mate's funeral, one of the presidents. Carter.
What, did Joe Biden die?
No, Carter.
Oh.
And they're having a little yarn and Obama's having a giggle.
Was he at Donald Trump?
No, they were just sitting next to each other having a chat. And I'm just like, I can't wait for someone to dub this with like some bullshit.
Oh my God, yes. How good are those dubbing videos?
Oh, so good. Okay.
So good. Especially the ones from Married at First Sight. They're the best.
You watch Married at First Sight?
Mate, I watched The
that's gross.
Housewives. You would be so disgusted.
I'm judging you right now.
You can.
I'm judging.
But do you know what? It's escapism to me, but it's also
I judge people
research.
on escapism.
It's research. It's
research on who watches
Human
it and
behaviour.
who is...
Human behaviour.
It's
I'm
rotting the brain.
obsessed.
Rotting the brain.
Not if you're like taking it from a psychologist point of view, which is what me
Does
and
it
my
count if it's
psychologist friend do.
produced?
Well, all of it's produced. Everything
So
we
how
watch
is it-
is
how-
this
how would you-
podcast is produced.
How would you validate it?
Like you? But this is the thing.
This is uncut.
Uncut.
I promise.
We up late, like when I was on Big Brother. Uncut and up late.
Were you on Big Brother?
Yeah, 2013.
Oh, nice.
Evicted day 43.
I would have been evicted day one.
No, I think you could get through. I think your social game would be strong.
No, I'd say something fucked and then they'd kick me off
Or
by
you would be
rules.
quite intelligent
No,
in
I'd
there.
break the rules. I would break the rule.
Are you a rule breaker?
Not on purpose.
What kind of rules have you broken in your life?
Oh, here we go. She's flipped the script. That's a part two, I reckon.
Okay, I'm here for that.
The rules, it's more so going against the status quo, right? Disrupting the status quo,
Yeah.
right? But we can do a part two podcast.
Well, the guy who won my year, he was disrupting.
Exactly.
He literally, Tim was like exactly that.
There you go.
So I think you would go far.
Thank you. I'll give
It's
it a
coming
go.
back, just FYI.
I got invited.
Maybe that's your PR.
No,
That's the PR.
I was
Oh, what
invited
a
before.
kid.
I rejected them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, told them fuck
See, I
off.
had all my issues because they rejected me originally.
Yeah, I got invited on like a different Survivor style thing.
Yeah, the one
I
on
read the TNCs and I was like, get fucked.
Yeah, the TNCs.
No.
I got paid $500 a week. That was it in 2022. It's pretty pittance.
Alrighty. That's it for that one. Final segment.
What one's the best one out of that?
You've got the call. They're all shit.
Are they?
Yeah, they're all.
Because I'm like, which one would I have
They're
got?
all like
'Cause I'm
individual podcast really questions. Like who
Because
really
to
killed.
be honest with conspiracy, I'm more interested by what other people think, and then
Yeah.
I just trust like, well, oh, actually, I kind of feel that.
I'm just gauging my audience though.
Yeah.
Like who really killed JFK? Most of my audience were like, who the fuck's that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the audience is getting older. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, a lot of this is more beneficial for the younger audience.
Yeah.
There's a
Well, they
phone call
believe
here.
that the world is flat.
No, they don't. Not my listeners. If you're a listener,
Are they from your geography class?
phone call.
Okay, yeah.
It's 15-year-old you.
Oh,
What do you tell yourself?
what do I record it in there?
No, just speak to Heidi at 15 and just tell her straight. What advice would you give her?
Okay, now I've got to get it into the
Don't have a back and forth. Let's just say, Heidi, what do you got to say to me that will help me in the future? Can you do it on the other side?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Just for the
See,
camera.
it's edited.
Yeah, yeah.
We're produced. I'm being produced here.
Yeah, but none of that will be cut.
So I would say to
No, say to her.
Oh, sorry. Oh fuck. This is like
Speak to
okay.
her.
Well, this is what I'm in hypo mode now.
What does she need
now
to
I've
hear?
got to go back to
Breathe in, breathe out. You got this.
Hides. I would tell you that it's okay and you're safe and I love you. and the world is going to love you, but it doesn't really matter what they think anyway. And I just want you to give yourself the biggest hug, and I want you to realize that the only love that you'll spend your life searching for is always from within. And I just want you to remember that, and I want you to hug yourself and, never, ever forget that.
Lovely. She hung up on you. No, it was good. Thank you so much.
But like when you have to do that, I don't know if you've done much therapy and like, or NLP and all that kind of stuff. It's like hard to go back there sometimes.
It does. Yeah, it is.
I always go for the hug.
It's vulnerability.
Yeah, I always go for the hug because I'm like, and when I'm in my darkest days, like, moments, I should say, I'll always sit there and just hug myself and say, you're safe. And I wish that I learnt that when I was a teenager.
Heidi Anderson.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming to my podcast, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Shout outs to Idea Academy. Check them out. If you have a child in year 10, 11 or 12 that feels like they're not getting much out of the outdated education system, then if you're lucky enough to be in Perth, hit up Idea Academy. That's the plug.
Love that.
And for anybody out there who's listening, appreciate you. Thanks for watching. If you're watching because someone sent you a recording of this, I'd love to know your feedback. Give me a 5-star. Give me a 1-star if you think it's shit. Any review's great because, it's feedback. Just don't be one of those dickheads. It's just 1 star because you can't do what I'm doing. But, can't all be winners.
Just share the shit out of it.
Share the shit out of it.
Share the shit out of it.
And as always, good thanks. And hope you're living your best life or on your path to a better one.